Over the years on the podcast, we've spoken a lot about, why deals don't get done. And number one, of course, is financial performance. The buyer walks away or they revalue it. They want to retrade. You're saying, look, I don't need to do that. I'm going to grow it back. I'm going to grow it back. And when I get back on my feet and the business is chugging along again, then I'll go back to market, which is common. Number two reason is typically what we call cold feet. You've been running your business for a number of years and you just realize you're sitting there and you can't let go. You don't want to let go. Or something came up during the whole process of selling that a bell went off. So look, if I did this, this, and this, maybe I can create value down the road. So I'm going to wait. Patience is key to selling your company. But there's one aspect that, we didn't really drill down on yet that I want to talk a little bit about today. Hi, everybody. My name is kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Welcome back to our podcast, The Ins and Outs of Selling a Business, and this week's big hurdle. So the area that we don't really talk about that is very common in family businesses is, what about the next generation? What if they get cold feet? How do you deal with that aspect of getting them invested in what's best for you and your family? Given, it could be a health reason, could be your age, could be a partner dispute, but that the best choice is to do a transaction and sell. And what steps you can take to ease their quote unquote concerns, discomfort, anxiety, stress, because this happens a lot, right? Family businesses are family businesses. Essentially, frankly, it's an informal atmosphere when it comes to the family, right? I mean, you talk to each other during work, you talk to each other, at home, you talk to each other on the golf course, the tennis court, or going for a hike, or family gatherings, and business always comes up. And you say, okay, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about that, right? And then when you're looking to sell a company, that informal way of you operating your business with your family members is going to turn. It's going to change, right? It's going to become more formal, more corporate, more reporting, accountability, things of those natures. So, we've had a couple situations recently where it's the shifting sands underneath the family where no one's saying anything. And we've gone through, many months, and then all of a sudden you get to the reality is you've had these meetings, you've talked to many buyers, the market has spoken to value, whether it's you and your partner, whether it's you and your family, whether it's you and your spouse, you found the deal that works for you, right? And a lot of it has to do with is what's best for my family and what's best for my employees, right? Those are key factors. And then you sign the letter of intent, you start moving forward, and it becomes, we always say this on the podcast, it becomes real to you, but it also becomes real to your kids. And sometimes their reaction is not positive. And, keep getting them online, keeping them online, creating an opportunity for them. I mean, you can't force them, right, to continue to work for the business. But you can take steps through communication, prior to selling, having a conversations of why you're doing this, so they understand the importance to you, right? This is your nest egg. I need to protect we need this money to live on comfortably like we have for the last 30, 40 years in this business, moving forward for the next 20 years. And they are not in a position, because usually what you'll do is you'll say, do you want to buy the business? And a lot will say no for various reasons. One, they don't have the entrepreneurial nature. They don't want to take that risk that takes around with running a family business, the responsibilities. They like what they do. They're in their lane, right? Whether it's engineering, sales and marketing, running the production floor, whatever. They like their lane and are very comfortable. And they don't want to take on that additional like responsibility. They're not of that, makeup, right? Which is not natural. I mean, look, I think the last statistics I looked at were only 23% of businesses transition from the first generation to the second generation. And then it gets below 15% to the third generation. And there's multiple reasons why, but you have family members who are working with you in the business, and it could be right out of college, or they went and took another job and they worked 3 or 4 years somewhere else, and then they came back in, and now they're working with you. And then all of a sudden they cause disruption, distraction, concern, can blow up the deal because they don't want to work for the new buyer. Well, the first thing is they don't really know their new buyer. So they're kind of getting over their skis. So, it's like, look, give it some time, right? I'm transitioning out, or your mother and I or your father and I are transitioning out. See how it goes. Right? Give yourself an opportunity. And buyers recognize that. They want to make sure that next generation is committed because they need you. And, expressing to your kids, they need you. Right? Depending on the buyer, they're going to heavily rely on your relationships if you're in sales with your customers. They're going to heavily rely on your relationship with the folks on the production floor. They're going to heavily rely on your relationship with your vendors and your supply chain. You name it, they need you. So giving that generation that confidence, building that confidence, understanding that you are in a good position here to expand. Like we're all going to exit our businesses someday. It's just what it is, right? Just 100%. So when you do that, you don't want to be in a position where you're pulling back from your business to exit it because one of your kids is nervous about you selling. Because it's the result is likely not going to be good long term. You're exiting for a specific reason, right? And if you don't exit because one of your kids is nervous about the new buyer coming in, and God forbid something happens, what does that do? It deteriorates value, and you can't get it back because at that point you're not going to be in position to get it back. So really sitting, emphasizing, communicating why it's important that they buy into this. Look, just give it some time. And if they give it the time, they can make a decision after that 12 months. If they want to like what they're doing or they don't like what they're doing. And you can incentivize them. We've talked about stay bonuses for your key employees to stay with the business, through a transition period to make sure that it runs smoothly. You can do the same thing with your family. Look, I need you to do this for me. Stay on for 1 year to 2 years. And if you do, you'll get X. So if you leave and you're under some kind of, non-solicitation or non-compete agreement for 2 years, I'll bridge that gap. I'm going to take care of you. So they have a backstop. Getting them psychologically in line with you of why you're doing this, what's motivating the sale, what your goals are. I mean, the long term is really for your family, right? It's very important. So if you're thinking about selling a business, you really got to communicate. You got to bring the family together so they know why you're doing this and get them to buy into it. And if they don't, right off the bat, you need to help them get there. Because the last thing you want to happen is you sign a letter of intent after 8-9 months worth of work, or 6 months worth of work, whatever it is, getting to that level. And then all of a sudden you have, quote unquote, a family rebellion and could jeopardize everything you worked for your whole life. Again, my name's kdee, President of Osage Advisors. Thank you for being with us today for our podcast, Ins and Outs of Selling a Business, this week's Big Hurdle. If you enjoy it, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. To learn more about Osage Advisors, please visit our website at osageadvisors.com. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at kdee@osageadvisors.com or pick up the phone and give me a call at 860-767-3273, extension 1001. Again, thanks for being with us today and have a great day.